Thailand is on the brink of more political turmoil centered around the Prime Minister. Paetongtarn Shinawatra has a tough week ahead of her, fighting to stay in office less than a year into her premiership. Frustration on the streets of Bangkok over the weekend. Thousands gathered to demand that she resign. This was the largest such rally since the ruling Pheu Thai party came to power 2 years ago, with protesters taking over areas around a key landmark, that's the Victory Monument. At the apparent heart of this, a leaked recording of a phone call between Ms. Paetongtarn and former Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen, in which the two discussed a long-running dispute over borders that has intensified since late May. Ms. Paetongtarn appeared to make efforts to appease the former Cambodian leader, while criticizing a Thai army commander. The Thai leader has since apologized for making those comments, while also maintaining they were, quote, a negotiation tactic. But disagreement over how to manage the border dispute has divided Ms. Paetongtarn's coalition government and triggered the exit of what had been the second largest partner of that coalition. That's the Pheu Thai party. Others left the alliance with at least 255 seats. That's just above the majority of the 500-seat House of Representatives. The leaked audio recording also sparking a string of investigations against the Thai leader that have done little to help her approval ratings. Coming up this week, the Constitutional Court is set to consider a plea tomorrow, calling for Ms. Paetongtarn to resign. A group of senators petitioned for a probe into Ms. Paetongtarn's alleged breach of the Constitution and ethical standards. Now, she also faces a possible no-confidence vote when Parliament resumes on Thursday. Her father, that's former Premier Thaksin Shinawatra, coming under scrutiny as well. A trial against him resumes tomorrow over accusations that he insulted the monarchy in a 2015 interview with a South Korean newspaper. If convicted, he could face as many as 15 years in prison. Another hearing on another charge could also put him behind bars. Or that's if the Supreme Court decides to re-sentence him over a decision that allowed him to serve an 8-year sentence for graft and abuse of power in hospital rather than in jail. And for more, we're joined by our Thailand correspondent Saksith Saiyasombut live from Bangkok. Saksith, a litany of woes there, not just for Ms. Paetongtarn, but also for her family. We even got to her aunt, the former Prime Minister, ousted in a coup, who has been ordered to pay millions for damages inflicted during her time in government. Now, taken separately, you might say these are not significant, certainly not office-ending charges, but taken together and taken in the context of Thailand. The question we're all asking is, are we looking at a military coup?
Yes, that is the sad truth about covering Thai politics for many decades. The risk of a military coup in Thailand is a permanent existence. It can be high, it can be low, but it can never be zero. Why is that? Because the military in Thailand is an independent actor in the sense of that there's no civilian control over it. And when we look at the history of Thailand since it became the country of Thailand, when it abolished absolute monarchy in 1932, we had at least 13 successful military coups since then. And, you know, the last two ones just in the past 20 years, in 2006 and in 2014. And of course, that is why many political observers are looking at the current situation with a lot of concern. They are seeing the developments making them feeling unsettled. Because why is that? We have, apologies, a Shinawatra in government, street protests happening, other political strifes and pressure building and mounting up to them. And of course, that's why the question about whether a military coup could come is very high. The question, of course, is, and there's unfortunately no straight answer to that yet. But having said that, you know, given about what is going to happen in the coming days, in the coming weeks as well ahead of them. Yes, the pressure against Paetongtarn Shinawatra is growing. There are more calls for her to resign. There's the potential also for more protests to happen. But also we are definitely still some way away from a military coup yet. But the major problem to answer this question is that we are not turning our backs towards a military coup.
All right, Saksith, the possibility of a coup never possibly high, possibly low, and I quote you, but never zero. So I take it that if we want to keep the possibility of this low, we need to balance the various forces at play in Thai politics. And there is, right now, sufficient imbalance to suggest we are looking at a higher chance, relatively speaking, of a military coup.
Very much so. The thing is that what we are looking at, this balance that you are meaning right now, the current balance is basically maintained by Thaksin Shinawatra, the former prime minister, and also by his enemies. Why? Well, let's rewind back in August 2023, when Thaksin was allowed to come back after 15 years of self-exile, allowing his Pheu Thai party also to take the seat of government while sharing his powers with the proxy parties of his enemies. Now, the thing is, part of that deal also includes him to stay in a police hospital, not serving the full extent of his prison sentence. He has not seen a jail sentence for one single night. That is coming back to haunt him with the Supreme Court probe into this as well. But then the problem is also that the terms and conditions of that deal, this Faustian deal that he made with former enemies, keeps changing. So, and that's why it keeps him on his toes. So why is that? Because as you also mentioned, that tomorrow this lèse majesté case against him is still in existence. He would have hoped that this would have been outside of the world anymore. So, and also, of course, the pressure against his daughter, Paetongtarn, as well. So in that sense, the walls are closing in on Thaksin and his family.
Also, very quickly, Saksith, perhaps Mr. Thaksin overstepping his permitted boundaries when he came back to Thailand as part of that deal and upsetting the powers that might be. And of course, we saw the pullout of Pheu Thai from the governing coalition. And that was significant because part of the deal was Pheu Thai would support Pheu Thai, and by doing that, help it maintain its vote in parliament. The withdrawal of this party in the larger picture, what does that say for Thailand? Very quickly, because I want to get a final question before we finish.
It doesn't look good right now because, like, Pheu Thai, let's not make no mistakes here. They were going to get kicked out of the coalition anyway. They used the phone leak by Hun Sen just as a pretense of this. But this also goes to the larger dissatisfaction among the Thai population as well, because, you know, when we look at these things, like, it's not only the Hun Sen phone leak, it was the slagging economy, tourism going down, the feeling of dysfunction in this country that things are not moving forward. At least they're not moving backwards, but definitely not moving forward. And there's this inertia on the political front and other stuff that where people are feeling somewhat stuck, and this seems to be now coming to a crescendo.
All right, the sense of dysfunction, I think you helped us cover the collapse of that building after the earthquake in Myanmar, and I think the sense of things not working as they should in Thailand, and everything that has happened since then reinforcing that sense. Where are we headed? Final question.
That is a good question. I mean, that's $1 million question. But as you said before, as I mentioned, it is this deal between Thaksin and his former enemies, which is also a competition over a power vacuum that has been going on for many years now. Now, part of Thaksin is also, of course, that he has always made gambits about, you know, not only his rule in office 20 years ago with his sister Yingluck when he was in power, and also, of course, his return and having his daughter in government as well. This is a gambit that he is trying to now cement his political legacy, that he feels that he might be the greatest Thai statesman that there ever is. But given all the problems that are going on right now, and given that apparently he is now exposed as not being as skillful in his power brokering as he is used to, this could, of course, not only endanger he himself, the government of his daughter, but also Thai democracy as a whole, because we have also elements that would rather tear the whole thing down if it means to get rid of Thaksin. And this is a very precarious, if not dangerous, situation that we are going into Thailand right now. The first half of the year, it looks like the Thai domestic politics was going to be not smooth sailing but rather quiet. But it looks like that in the latter half of this year, we are looking at a very heated period. And this is, of course, where observers would like to see cooler heads prevail, but it is very hard to come by when covering Thai politics here. So we will be seeing the first juncture point tomorrow when the Constitutional Court decides whether or not to take on the case against Prime Minister Paetongtarn.
And thanks, Saksith there. And of course, we do need cooler heads because Thailand has far greater issues to face externally. As an example, just one of those tariffs coming from Washington. Thanks for that. Saksith Saiyasombut live for us there from Bangkok.